Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. So for today's video, let's talk about something that is very broad spectrum that needs to be discussed about the game, and that is corporation management and structure systems. So let's go through it. Now I have mentioned this here before that we haven't even reached the pinnacle of where our corp should be and how they should be managed. So let's talk about the shortcomings within a lot of these systems. So a lot of corps have what you call big old time players from previous versions of the game. And this is the big problem with it. The big old time players are EVE online player base. And online player base is actually a PC player base. So what is the difference between a PC player base and a mobile player base? Well, a PC player base will actually dedicate time to their practice. They will literally sit at their gaming computer or their PC for several hours, while a mobile platform player will sit at the device for several minutes at a time and move on from activity to activity in real life. So it is a partial engagement for them. It is something which is there just to entertain them, to hold them off from another activity. So let's talk about the places that games are generally played. Waiting rooms, in queues, during lunch breaks, during free time, while trying to fall asleep. Now, all of these activities where players play most of their mobile games are not consistent with a lot of time. So here is where a lot of corporations, commanders, fleet commanders, so forth have gone wrong. Long duration operations. So yes, you do get some players will play the game habitually and will play to that level, and this is why a lot of the player base ran away, why our million plus player base is now so tiny. It's in the tens of thousands. So yes, that is the reason why the player base has shrunk so badly. So what is the exact reason for all of this? Well, when you have an online game and it's in the form of a mobile game, you need to make sure that your fleets are versatile. Your fleets need to have the option of players leaving at time to time. You can't play the old online method of, you know what, let's get together with 100,000 of the cheapest ship we can afford with enough firepower, and let's go to so and so system, beat them and become the champions. Now, due to this, a lot of players will experience what I would call handling problems. They're going to be handled in a way that they don't like. Now, you can't dedicate so many ships and do this here because you're not going to get your numbers all the time. So when it comes to doing this here, you need to think as follows. You need a ship that is more durable than one player's ship. So what is the general doctrines for players? Cruisers. So if you're going to play a doctrine, your doctrine is going to have to be at least double the power or 1.5 times the power of a cruiser. So let's see, immediately with that criteria, I'm going straight to a battle cruiser or a faction cruiser. So is it feasible to make a faction cruiser doctrine? No, it isn't. They are ridiculously expensive and they are heavy to replace. So yeah, faction cruisers are out of the picture. So you can't have a faction cruiser doctrine. Battleships, they are more expensive, but they aren't ridiculously more expensive. They are slightly more expensive. That makes them doable. Fitting them out and outfitting them, we can cheaply outfit them or we can expensively outfit them. They're versatile, they can be used in all areas of the game. We've got a winner. We've got something that can work. Let's look at it a little bit further. Is there a way for us to use our battleships and outcome even higher damage, higher firepower, higher range? Well, yes, there is. Within the battle cruiser class are several new ships in the assault vessels. They're like mini battleships. There we go, we have a double win. So you can literally move up one standard on your firepower and you can still stay within an affordable class. So there you go, it is affordable, it is doable. Considering that you're not getting your hundreds of players with every operation, you can have 50 of these ships made for players and you can keep replacing them one by one by one for those who are constant in activities. Unfortunately, a lot of the player base tend to do the following thing. Let's keep our doctrine cheap so that we can save money for our corp. Okay, you want to save money, so what's your doctrine? Let's go with the standard Vexor. Okay, standard Vexor is very cheap. It's under a million to make. It's very cheap. It won't be affecting much of the player base. Okay, right, we'll go with it. So yeah, it's inexpensive. But let's say now the operation you require to go up against 100 players from the enemy team. They're also running the same doctrine as you. So 100 players, we're gonna march into them. Oh no, we didn't get our 200 players online. We only have 50 out of our 200. Let's see, we have to cancel this operation. We don't stand a chance. Yeah, you literally don't stand a chance because you don't have the right numbers. But let's go back one whole decision and let's rechange the entire situation. Okay, let's change the ship to Nagas. All right, battle ship, high end. It's a railgun ship. Let's everybody run Nagas for the doctrine. Okay, we run into the situation. You know what? We're taking out these guys very simple. They're just falling like flies. Ha! It's 50 versus 200, but it's more like 1 versus 1,000. That's what it feels like to them. It's like they facing 1,000 players, even though we are the smaller enemy. So yeah, there we go. We just won effortlessly. We took out their station. We're heading back to base. Did anything happen that was eventful? Yeah, we took a little bit of damage here and there when their drones got in range. We blasted them out of the way all the time. We kept our largest range possible. We won. It was an easy win for us. There you go. That is what you want. That is where you want your things to go. You want the end game base. But let's go with the same issue. Let's say we went with the Vexor, the regular Vexor. We deploy 100 players into the sector. They deploy their drones. Players research ranges anywhere from 5 in drones and 5 in medium to 5 in drones and no other skills. So there we go. It's that low range for most players. They are based in lasers. They are based in railguns. That's the only weapons that they really have range and power on. So all of a sudden they jump into this high stake combat. They can't get you 50 to 60 kilometers. Outfitting the ship has cost them an arm and a leg getting a hold of drone fittings that are appropriate for the ship. And they're now fighting in this battle. Now, your small cheap ship has cost you 400 million once you count in the rigs that are needed just to get it up to spec because players don't have the right research in it. And while fighting this enemy, you get decimated. Your player base is really upset. They don't want to play anymore. They feeling disheartened. There we go. It's a lot of big bad stuff happening. This is where fleet commanders and operations go down. This is the part where it happens. You're losing a ship. They compensate you for the ship, they don't compensate you for the rigs. You need the rigs because they want you to get the range. They expect you to have the range by having skills. You are not a drone pilot, you are a laser pilot, or you are a railgun pilot, or a cannon pilot, or a decomposer pilot. Whatever they asked you for doesn't match what you have. All right, now they're complaining about compensating you for the rigs, it was too expensive. All of a sudden, that cheap ship of theirs becomes 600 million for compensating the baseline. All right, it was way too expensive. They're feeling the pinch. It doesn't work out for them. There's no way they can keep those rigs. The rigs are too expensive. What do we do next? Okay, let's go towards the Naga. The Naga has several basic fittings that you can do. You can have it in the basic combat style, the basic fight style. Everything that you need to fit on it costs you about 200 million. So yeah, you got 200 million versus the Vex's 400 million. 200 million in fitting versus 400 million in fitting. Production price of the ship is about 180 million. Oh, you're at 380 million. The Vexor is at 410 million. You're literally saving 30 million on the overall process of building up the Vexor. The Vexor loses drones. Drones are easy to replace. They're not that heavy. The large weapons, well, let's say that you can't pick up the large weapons because you're not in the right space. Well, you're going to have to purchase them. They're quite expensive, even if you're taking the MK7 variables. Okay, it's not really all that expensive. You make up for your losses. 80 million, easy, over and done with. All your fleet commander problems are over. So there you go. You've actually just reached the pinnacle of where you need to be. Sorry about that. So I just explained the basics of this entire situation. So that is where these doctrines have gone wrong. That's how come a lot of players get very upset when it comes to fleet operations. This is also the reason why certain corps with massive player bases don't have such good turnouts. It's poor planning and improper regulation. Now let's go a little bit further on the doctrine side and let's add to it a little bit extra. You can't have a single ship doctrine. What did I just say? You can't have a single ship doctrine. Why not? Because players aren't going to follow your doctrine down to the T. You can't expect to have all Nagas. You can't expect to have all Tornadoes or all Oracles or all Telos. You need to have a versatility fit for your ships. You're going to have fleets who run armor doctrine. You're going to have fleets which run shield doctrine. And how do you accommodate to this? Well, you have a commander separation. If you have a commander who isn't liked by the community, kick him off his pedestal, drop him from that position as fast as possible. There are one or two. I can name them if I really had to, but yeah, I'm in a corp with a really terrible commander. Nobody really likes him. If he posts up a fleet operation, everybody will get into a mining fleet and go mine. That's how bad it is when that person posts an op. And if he starts screaming and shouting and ranting about it, the player base will literally go and do another activity because they hate him that much. And you left him as a FC, as one of your commanders and chiefs. So there is a very big problem. You need to get him out of that position. You need to kick him off. You literally need to give him no responsibilities that will allow him to interfere with the player base. So there you go, easy 1, 2, 3. Knock them off that pedestal, sort out the discrepancies within your team. Let's move forward to the next issue within the whole corp base. A lot of corporations also have the issue with dividing teams and time. Now, certain players aren't combat pilots, right? They're never going to be combat pilots. And other players are non-aggressive, they're pacifists. So they don't want to play in PvP or any type of action that looks like PvP. So you're not going to get them in your activities. So what do you do about these players? Absolutely nothing. You leave them to their activities. If they are going to go out and rat, leave them ratting. If they're going to go out and mine, leave them mining. Don't go jump in the fleet and hound on them. You're going to cause your player base to shrink and shrink and shrink. And whenever an operation is going on, you're going to have no players online. That is a fault of those fleets and commanders. And if you decide to do something ridiculous like raise your taxes to 100%, I don't care who you are, right? This is a general thing. It's happened with multiple corps. When you raise your tax to 100%, there's only one time to do it. One time and one time alone. When you have one base, one location where you are situated in. Oh, okay, right. That's another game that I'm playing. I'm allowing you all to see some of the messages right now. That's because I am actually playing other games on the side, and you will be getting some content from another game. Actually, you're going to be getting content from 2 other games on this channel starting in a few days time after Christmas, obviously. So yeah, that's it, and that is the whole basis on where these fleets have gone wrong. Now you don't go and put pressure on them unless you only have one base where everybody is located. So let's say, for example, you only had one station. It is the only station you have in all of the game, and you're in a war. What do you do at this point? Well, you set your tax to 100%, so all players don't have any other activity to do. They fall back to base and they take part in the operation. But let's say you have 10 bases. You don't set tax to 100%. Let's say, for example, your corp is set out across 2 or 3 regions. You don't interfere with it. You leave it as it is. Those players know what they are doing. You may have actually costed yourself the approach of a second enemy by moving them out of place. So thank you all for watching the video. I hope that you do understand the fleet formation story and the command story and where the problems are. There are more problems. I'll get into it at another time. And thank you all for watching. Have a good day.